Good morning. Thomas and I decided this would be a good time to talk to you a little bit about safety, but relating to me and my employees and some of my students. So these are first-hand experiences. And one of the first ones, and I know most of you, Thomas has shown you how to use a pair of pruners. I know I have in some of the videos. And the pruners, if you have a brand new pair, they're ultra sharp. They cut nicely, but they also could cut fingers off. And a lot of people don't realize that you could cut your own fingers with a pair of pruners. It happened to me. And I had been doing gardening for about 15 years, and I got a hold of a fuchsia. I held a branch like this, and I went to prune the branch, but I left this other finger behind. So when I cut here, I cut the tip of the finger off right there. Oh man, I went berserk, and I look at it, wrap it up, and then my helpers are saying, how bad is it? I said, I think I gotta go to emergency. So none of my people drive, so I have to drive myself. I go to emergency at St. Mary's Hospital. Oh, I'm dripping on the floor. The best they do, they put a pan under it to catch the drippings, So then they said, where's the piece? Oh God, I don't know where the piece is. I called my employees, they couldn't find. I said, don't go into that area, I'll come back. So I left the hospital and I went back, and they gave me a little bottle with saline solution, and it looked like a little piece of worm on the ground, but I found it, and I picked it up and dropped it in, and then they found the doctor for me later, and it was a plastic surgeon. He had been out on the golf course, they had to wait another couple hours. Then he cut a piece of what I call meat right there and stuck it on the end of my finger. And so for years I used to show Thomas, and I can't show you here. I don't think you can see it. You could look. There's a little tip of the piece there on the side. It looks a little bit different. And if you get in the right light, you can see there's 2 or 3 hairs coming out of it. So nobody has hairs coming out of their finger, So watch. When my grandson wanted to do pruning, and he was only a little guy, about 8 years old, I said, come on, I give you a good pair of pruners. And he gets ready to do the pruning. And first of all, you put this left hand in your pocket. I don't want to see that hand out of your pocket, or you lose your pruners. Now you can prune whatever you want on this one board, So even for you, if you don't know what you're doing, don't get these 2 hands close together. If you're going to prune this branch, you're going to be pruning out here. Don't prune real close. You don't know where those other fingers are. Because I was cussing myself out to a few other gardeners, and they said, oh, we've all done that. If you ever looked at your left glove, it's all full of cuts. How do you think they got there? So this happens a lot. So you got to be very, very careful. The next time I did a little damage, there was a couple stitches there. I was up in a pine tree, great big pine tree, up there for about 4 hours, 5-hour pruning, all tied in. I was happy doing my stuff. I'm all done, I get down. Oh my goodness. I looked up, about 10 feet up, there's a big branch with a little dead twig on it like that. Oh, I put up my ladder, take my little tree saw, and go click, click, and I went to hit it off there. Came right, it flicked over and it hit me right, like, put a little cut there, a little nick there, but it split my lip wide open, because whenever you hit right there, your teeth are behind it, you end up with a V. Your thing opens up like that. Boy, you look like a toughie. So again, I went to the emergency, and the Doctor says, "You want Novocaine?" I said, "What are you asking for?" He says, "Usually Novocaine hurts as much as stitching does." I said, "Stitch away. I don't need that." So he fixed that up. So be careful of that too. You don't want to ever get hit with a branch, a tool, a rake handle. If you hit it just right, you could split this wide open. The next time that I remember, I did it here, right out by in the parking lot. I was demonstrating pruning dodonia, and I was up on my ladder, a little A-frame, and I'm pruning this stuff, and I'm sawing away like that, you know, and I couldn't get it with the right hand, so I did it with my left hand. I'm holding on, and the saw slipped, wow, like that, and I went like that, and I pulled, oh boy, it's wide open. I took out my handkerchief and wrapped that up. And I kept working, and at the time, Robert's girlfriend, Diana, was in the class. And after we came in here, she said, "Did you cut yourself?" I said, "Yeah." "What are we going to do about it?" And I said, "I'll wait until I go home and show it to Robert." You know, we got home, unwrapped it. He says, "Go to the doctor, go to the hospital, a bunch more stitches." So it's so easy when you're sawing. A lot of time, I always like to hold the branches, but don't hold too close, because all you have to do is have that saw jump, and you could slice. A friend of mine was working for City Electric on the power lines for the streetcars, and he did something, and a piece of wire, he cut it and came right across there and sliced all the tendons. Then they had to go and dig them out to find out which one moved each finger. You know, so there again, you have to be careful. Another time, no stitches, but really bad. Last week, I think I told you about climbing on ladders. This is the last time I really climbed a ladder much. A lot of you don't know, but when I had polio, they transplanted some muscles in my right leg, because my leg would go, so, you know, your leg goes all the way back. Well, by the time they put these transplant muscles, my leg only could go that far. Well, I came off this ladder, and my good leg was up in the ladder, so the right one was pointing straight down. When it went down, it buckled all the way. It hadn't buckled all the way in 20 years. I saw stars. I thought I had hit my head or something. I think I saw stars from the pain. And my employees all came running over, call 911 and everything, and Robert comes over, and I said, "Straighten my leg. Straighten my leg." And he gets a hold of my leg, and he watches my eyes, and he's moving it, until it went straight. And then he saw all the blood come back in my face, and I could breathe again. And so I went again. Being who I am, I sat in a chair, and we ate our lunch, and then we finished the job. Then I called my wife. She brought me to the hospital. They x-rayed, they did everything. They said, "Well, when you had this operation done," I said, "about 30 years ago." He said, "Well, we don't know what went on." He said, "Here's a pair of crutches and an ace bandage. Go home, and if it doesn't get better, come see us." And so I never went back, you know. And so it didn't work as good as before, because I pulled out some of the transplants. So, remember last week I told you you can jump off the ladder? Jumping off and falling off are two different things. You don't mind jumping if it's not too high, because you know what you're doing. But when you fall, you don't know which way you're coming down. Because, in fact, Robert on one job took that orchard ladder I showed you last week, and we were on I sent him to the backyard, I did the front, and he had the ladder up about like this with the pole out. Well, when he couldn't get to the pole right, so he pushed it straighter and straighter. And then he jerked a little bit and the ladder went backwards, and he went over. And he landed on his back, so now he has back problems, and I attribute it to that, way back. And the worst part was he missed the sprinkler head that was about this high up by this much. When he landed on his back, he looked, and there it was. And if that would have hit him anywhere in the neck or the head, he would have been gone. So I told you last week, I almost like to, when it's any danger at all with an orchard ladder, have another person with you and hold the ladder. That ladder is never to fall down. That's one way to really look for trouble. The next thing did not happen to me, but it had happened to clients and one of our employees in getting clipped with power or electric shears. In my day, they weren't power, they were electric, but the power is a little bit more. They could go right through bone, but in our day, I had a client, he was a lawyer up in St. Francis Wood, and he used to never let me trim these couple bushes. He always wanted to do it because he liked doing it. Well, I come one day and his whole hand bandaged up, he comes out and he wants me to trim the bushes from now on. Another time, I had looked at a job, and it was ivy, had to come off the big wall. I gave him a price, I never got the job. About 2 months later, he calls me up. Would I do that job for him? I said, well, sure. So I go, and one whole side was cut off, but it still was all up on this building, up 2 stories, So it took us 3 days to get that down and out. When we got it all done, he comes to check, and I said, it looked like somebody started it. Oh, he says, that was me. I cut a finger off trying to do it. And I thought I'd better get you to finish it. Live and learn. You gotta be careful with chainsaws. They are so dangerous, and like I told you last week or another time, if they're dull, they can still cut flesh.
Gus, what about that thumb?
Oh, I think I fell down. Nobody's thumb comes out like that. You can see how this is up. I think I fell down one day and I caught myself like this and put all the weight on this, and it just broke the bone. And typical me, I put duct tape on it and went back to work. And then one of my students saw it and says, I'm never going to prune. Look at what happens to your thumb. I said, no, pruning didn't do it. Falling did. So that's about it, Tom?
Yeah, getting close.
We'll see you later.